Hey everyone, my name is Jack, and in this video I want to look at what Sam Zell is doing during this uncertain economic time. The COVID-19 crisis has brought with it a lot of uncertainty and very uneasy market shifts, and the economy appears getting closer and closer to a much larger downturn than maybe we initially expected. The real estate market might be heading for its own crash as well. In times like these, it's often helpful to look at what the most successful investors are doing to see if there's something that we can learn from their success. So what is real estate investor Sam Zell doing to prepare for a real estate market downturn? And before I get into that, I have to emphasize that I'm not a financial advisor, and my videos aren't financial advice, they never are, but I do advise you to leave a like. Sam Zell is one of the most successful real estate investors of all time. The crafty 78-year-old is currently worth about $5 billion. One of his first business ventures was reselling Playboy magazines to his friends as a kid, though he made most of his fortune through his investment firm, Equity Group. He has a great autobiography that I'd recommend that anyone even remotely interested in real estate should definitely read. The book is called Am I Being Too Subtle?, which is also the phrase that he likes to end any of his deal pitches with after he finishes explaining his proposal. It was on my top 10 book list that I posted recently. You can check that out in the link above. You can get a lot of his blunt humor and his core business philosophies in the book. It's definitely worth picking up. I've left a link for it in the description again as well. While it invests in all sorts of different ventures, Equity Group historically has invested primarily in real estate with a particular focus on office buildings. Though this is not to say that the firm does not invest in different types of real estate. Actually, in recent years, Zell's firm has bought some mobile home parks to add to the portfolio and diversify it a little bit. Zell calls himself a professional opportunist, and his competitors call him the grave dancer, which actually is another game that he gave to himself. And to illustrate this, just before the 2008 crash, Zell sold the main office building arm of his company, Equity Office, which he sold for $39 billion. Now, many of those properties were underwater just a couple of years later after he sold them. Needless to say, that deal worked very well for Mr. Zell, and the subsequent owners entered the graveyard. And you might enter the graveyard as well if you don't like and subscribe. Too much? Zell purchased a REIT, Equity Commonwealth, back in 2014. He raised $3.4 billion from selling 150 office properties out of that portfolio since then. Equity Commonwealth only owns 5 properties at the moment. Now, Zell obviously thought it was worth cashing out of those deals and taking home some handsome profits, and with so much cash, it seems like he's poised to perform very well into and through a market downturn. But what would trigger a real estate downturn in the first place? Well, the government has ordered quarantines in many states, and this, combined with the ongoing global health crisis from the coronavirus, is threatening many people's jobs. And if people start losing their jobs, tenants will be unable to pay rent, and rents will likely drop significantly if that happens. And for highly leveraged deals, even a small dip in rent could spell disaster. Real estate has been relatively expensive in recent years, and rents have risen quickly in many areas. A sudden shock to the market by removing many viable tenants could trigger a downward spiral. Those investors who are not over-leveraged will be in a much stronger position. They ideally will have cash to pounce on those deals that foreclose or sell to cut losses, and then the cycle would start over again, or at least we would assume. This is a good spot to remind you guys that I have a free real estate metrics spreadsheet that quickly calculates all of the essential metrics on a piece of property that you might be looking at, or if you're just trying to learn how to calculate the metrics on rental property. It calculates all the big metrics, cap rate, NOI, cash on cash, among all the other big ones, so you'll be well equipped heading into a real estate deal to make sure that all the metrics line up the exact way that you want them to. This way you won't be over-leveraged like those folks who might get hit hard in a potential downturn. And it's free and of no risk to you, so you might as well pick up a copy in the description below. There's also a chance that lenders will be able to forgive or extend loan payments given the current situation. So it's not a guarantee that we'll have a downturn. And this would probably only happen with significant government action via a comprehensive stimulus program, though one has yet to be enacted, though they are allegedly getting close to one. If a strict quarantine is enforced without government assistance so that people and businesses can continue making loans and rental payments, one would think that things will get much worse very quickly. So what's next for Sam Zell? Well, only time will tell, but it depends on how aggressive Zell and his team want to get. He is nearing his 80s, but Zell is presumably in a very different stage of his career than many years ago. But opportunities may be too irresistible for the savvy investor. What's the harm of another solid real estate deal after all? What we do know is that Zell has a mountain of cash that he can easily deploy on distressed properties should they arise. Whatever the result, cash-heavy opportunists like Zell will be in a very good position if the market turns south anytime soon. So what can we learn from all of this? In short, cash reserves are very important. Not only do they protect an investor in a downturn from defaulting on loans or other obligations, they give an investor a powerful tool to go on the offensive as well. Sam Zell is fairly insulated from a lot of the current market uncertainties and fluctuations because of liquidating his previous investments, which is another advantage of holding cash. He's simultaneously well equipped to start scooping up properties in the near future if he wants to do that. This is not to say that cash is king, but having some cash is definitely vital. Not only is cash a defensive measure, it is offensive. And without cash, especially if creditors get worried about market conditions and start drying up credit, an investor will have few options for actually acquiring good deals. It'll be interesting to see how Sam Zell utilizes his position in the coming months and years. Well, that's all I got today. If you found this video interesting, please give it a like as it helps the channel out a lot. I post new content like this one on investing, investment strategies, real estate, and other personal finance topics, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any updates. And what do you think Sam Zell should do? Let me know in the comments below. But until next time, take care.